He makes me laugh.
Let's call the caucus to order. First, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 ordinances have to do with contract pay negotiations. Any comments on any of those?
Yes, Mayor. During the regular meeting, I'll be making motions on 3 of the ordinances you just numbered from the negotiating committee to make an amendment to insert some new wording that we got from the solicitor. And then the next one from council as a whole, I'll also be amending that.
Okay. Anything which is amended will be going back to second reading.
Yes.
So, any other comments or questions on the first 12? Okay, the next one's from Transportation and Senior Services, Planning and Zoning and Recreation Committee for second reading. An ordinance authorizing the mayor and clerk to enter into an agreement with the Trumbull County Board of Commissioners. This is for our Trumbull County Nutrition Program for them to use our site. This is probably the first time it's been in this early in many years. That's up for second reading. Are there any comments or questions on that? Hearing none. The next one's from the same committee for various seasonal part-time employment positions for second reading. Are there any comments or questions on that one?
This does not need the emergency passed. It doesn't go into effect until January, so.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, the next one's from Street Sidewalks, Public Park, Buildings, Grounds, and General Improvement Committee. This is for Shelley and Sands to contract with them for 2014 street resurfacing project, declaring an emergency. Comments?
That's just we had to pass this, Mr. Mayor, because it was left out of the bids and the specs to do the burning from Bailey Road to Palmar and plus Hallicone Road, and they were prepared by the county, but it was omitted, and they had to do the burning, so that's the reason we want to pass it.
Okay, any other comments? Next one from Finance. An ordinance authorizing the clerk to make all necessary revisions to the revenue and appropriations budgets pursuant to the amended certificate dated October 31st, 2014, declaring an emergency. Comments?
Yes, Mayor. I'd like to see this passed tonight.
Any other comments? The next one's from Utilities Committees for emergency passage. An ordinance authorizing the purchase of 1 Godwin Dry Prime CD 103M diesel pump from the Island, 300 Temple Street, Painesville, Ohio, 44077, declaring an emergency. Comments?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. This is being passed, being paid for jointly by the Board of Public Affairs and Council. For this pump, for emergency use, primarily sewage, it does have other uses. They could use it for pumping water as well, drainage holes and things of that nature. We'd like to see that passed tonight, and they will reimburse Council when they get the sewer fund solved.
Okay, Bill. Any other comments? Hearing none, the next one's from Finance Committee, transfer ordinance in the utility fund. Comments?
Yes, I'd like to see this passed tonight.
Okay, are there any other comments? Hearing none, are there any questions on the bills this evening? Hearing none, are there any questions on the minutes which are in front of you for approval? Okay, is there anything council would like to discuss during caucus before we go into the regular meeting? Okay, hearing none, I will now adjourn the caucus and start the regular meeting. I'd like to welcome everybody to coming council meeting this evening. If you please stand and join me for the Lord's Prayer and Pledge of Allegiance. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, power, and glory forever. Amen. pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Bill, if I could have roll call, please.
Mayor Hill.
Present.
Mr. Bond.
Here.
Mr. Mansell.
Present.
Mr. Radka.
Present.
Mrs. Jones.
Present.
Mr. Shealy.
Here.
Mr. Reader.
Present.
George Blank. Present. Treasurer George Evelyn. Here. Mr. Duffy.
Present.
Police Chief Nolan. Present. Fire Chief Travis Eastham. Planning and Zoning, Economic Development, Kelly Bordner.
Present.
Parks, Buildings and Ground and Street Commissioner Dale Grimm. Recreation Marty Gibson.
Here.
Board of Public Affairs.
Here.
Municipal Engineer Chris Gagella.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to excuse Dale Grimm. Everybody knows he has surgery. Mr. Gelling said he had another obligation this evening, so he did not have a report. And Travis Eastham, he's still on second shift. I'll entertain a motion.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Reader, second. Comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Entertain a motion for adoption of the agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Radka, second.
Second.
Second by Shealy. Comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Entertain a motion for disposal of the minutes of the regular meeting held October 20th, 2014.
So moved.
Moved by Jones, second.
Second.
Second Shealy. Comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Entertain a motion for payment of the bills.
So moved.
Moved by Mansell, second by Jones. Comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Mayor's report. We did get our renewal for Integris Energy, which is our gas aggregate company we use. Last year, I believe the cap was $5.78 per MCF. And it was a flex down where it would never go higher than that, and if the gases came in, it would flex down from there. Our new rate is $4.178, so it's dropped about $1.60 per MCF. So that's quite a drop. So anybody who does have natural gas, I did notify Integris and tell them that we had several new residents who did get gas lines, and hopefully we'll get most of them next year who did not get gas lines this year, but that should help everybody with the heating costs. And I also have, everybody should have in their box to have a part-time dispatcher. I'll be asking for them to take that off the rolls. That's it for the mayor's report. Is there a clerk's report?
No report, Mayor.
Any questions for Bill? Solicitor's report?
No report.
Any questions for Paul? Treasurer's report?
No report.
Any questions for George? Okay, Board of Trustees of Public Affairs report.
No report, Mayor.
Okay, any questions for Kevin? Okay, village engineer is not here. Special Force Police Chief Milholm.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I've submitted my monthly report for October. I'll answer any questions if you have any. The only other thing I have is in the near future, probably sometime this week actually, we're going to be posting our police blotter on our Lordstown Police Department Facebook page. We've had some difficulty over the years getting a blotter printed through the local newspapers. So with the emergence of Facebook and how popular that's become, we're going to actually type our own police blotter and put it on our Facebook page. We'll probably update that, if not daily, certainly in a timely manner, so our residents can go on and find out what's going on.
Okay, appreciate that. Any questions for Brent? Okay, Fire Chief Easton is not here this evening. Planning, Zoning, and Economic Development Administrator Kelly.
No report, but I will have a monthly report in everyone's box before the next meeting.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions for Kelly? Okay, Mr. Grimm is not here this evening. Recreation, Marty.
No report.
Any questions for Marty? Okay, Bill, do we have any correspondence this evening?
No correspondence, Mayor.
Okay, public remarks. If you'd like to make a public remark after I acknowledge you, please come to the microphone and give your name and address so we can get it recorded in the minutes correctly. Public remarks. Hearing none, are there any council remarks?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I see, I'm looking at the village website. I know we talked about it a little bit at finance meeting 2 meetings back. And I'm glad to see we got the Village Courier back on there, the newsletter. And there was some talk about updating the site, like the video at the bottom that says how comes to have this facility open this year and stuff. And I see it's still there. I was in the process of doing something done with it.
Bob, we'll take a look at that this week.
Okay.
Okay, any other council remarks? Let me mark that down. Okay, are there any other council remarks this evening? Okay, committee reports. Finance, Mr. Mansell.
Yes, Mayor, there's two pieces of legislation tonight from the Finance Committee that I'd like to see passed. And as I stated in caucus, there's 4 pieces of legislation from the Negotiation Committee that I'll be amending tonight.
Okay, any questions for John? Okay, Parks, Buildings, Grounds, General Improvements, Streets and Sidewalks, Mr. Reader.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, just as I mentioned there in the caucus that we have one piece of legislation on the agenda that we need passed this evening. That's all, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, any questions for Don? Public Safety and Welfare, Mr. Radka.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Still waiting to have that siren repaired on Bailey Road. We're having trouble getting them parts, so as soon as we get them, we'll get it up and running. And also, I have the latest rendering of our new fire truck, if anyone would like to see it. It's going to be right here for a look at. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Ron? Public Utilities, Mr. Bond.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, just one piece of legislation we discussed in caucus. I'd like to see it passed by emergency tonight. My understanding, the BPA is when they can afford to, they will reimburse that half of it. Is that correct, gentlemen?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any questions for Bob? Transportation, Recreation, and Senior Services, Mrs. Jones.
I have no report this evening, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, any questions for Karen? Okay, Bill, if we could have the first piece of legislation, please.
Negotiating Committee for passage. An ordinance amending and restating ordinance number 91, 2013, establishing the authorized strength, the hourly wages, and other terms of remuneration for the Street Commissioner / Parks, Grounds, and Building Superintendent, effective January 1st, 2015, and declaring an emergency.
Comments or motions on this piece of legislation?
Move for passage.
Motion by Jones to adopt. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Shealy. Comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Bond?
Yes.
Mr. Mansell?
Yes.
Mr. Reader?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Radka?
Yes.
Mr. Shealy?
Yes.
6 ayes, 0 nays. Motion carried to adopt ordinance 82, 2014. Next, please.
From Negotiating Committee for passage, an ordinance amending and restating ordinance number 8, 2014, establishing the authorized strength, setting the hourly compensation and other terms of remuneration and conditions of service for members of the Lordstown Village Fire Department, effective January 1st, 2015, and declaring an emergency.
Comments or motions on this piece of legislation?
Move to adopt.
Motion to adopt by Jones. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Vaughn. Comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Shealy?
Yes.
Mr. Radka?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Reader?
Yes.
Mr. Mansell?
Yes.
Mr. Bond?
Yes.
6 ayes, 0 nays. Motion carried to adopt ordinance 83, 2014. Next, please.
The Negotiating Committee for passage, an ordinance amending and restating ordinance number 23, 2014, establishing wages and terms of employment for the Lordstown Transit van driver and substitute van drivers, effective January 1st, 2015, and declaring an emergency.
Comments or motions on this piece of legislation?
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt by Mansell. Second.
Second.
Second by Shealy. Comments? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Radka?
Yes.
Mr. Shealy?
Yes.
Mr. Bond?
Yes.
Mr. Mansell?
Yes.
Mr. Reader?
Yes.
6 ayes, 0 nays. Motion carried to adopt ordinance 84, 2014. Next, please.
From Negotiating Committee for passage, an ordinance amending and restating ordinance number 95, 2013, establishing the authorized strength, the salary, and other terms of remuneration for the full-time Assistant Income Tax Administrator's position in the Village of Lordstown's Treasurer's Office, effective January 1st, 2015, and declaring an emergency.
Comments or motions on this piece of legislation?
Motion to adopt.
Motion by Mansell to adopt. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jones. Comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Reader?
Yes.
Mr. Mansell?
Yes.
Mr. Bond?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Mr. Shealy?
Yes.
Mr. Radke?
Yes.
6 ayes, 0 nays, motion carried to adopt ordinance 85, 2014. Next, please.
From negotiating committee for passage, an ordinance amending and restating ordinance number 103, 2013, establishing the authorized strength, the hourly wages, and other terms of remuneration for the clerk's office staff within the Village of Lordstown's clerk's office, effective January 1st, 2015, and declaring an emergency.
Comments or motions on this piece of legislation?
Make a motion to adopt.
Motion by Shealy to adopt. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Radke. Comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Bond?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Mansell?
Yes.
Mr. Reader?
Yes.
Mr. Radke?
Yes.
Mr. Shealy?
Yes.
6 ayes, 0 nays, motion carried to adopt ordinance 86, 2014. Next, please.
From negotiating committee for passage, an ordinance amending and restating ordinance number 92, 2013, establishing the salary and other terms of remuneration for the full-time clerk's assistant position in the Village of Lordstown's clerk's office, effective January 1st, 2015, and declaring an emergency.
Comments or motions on this piece of legislation?
Motion to adopt.
Motion by Radke to adopt. Second? Second by Reader. Comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Shealy?
Yes.
Mr. Radke?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Bond?
Yes.
Mr. Reader?
Yes.
Mr. Mansell?
Yes.
6 ayes, 0 nays, motion carried to adopt ordinance 87, 2014. Next, please.
From negotiating committee for passage, an ordinance amending and restating ordinance number 1, 2014, establishing the authorized strength, the hourly wages, and other terms and remuneration for the part-time dispatchers in the Village of Lordstown, effective January 1st, 2015, and declaring an emergency.
Comments or motions on this piece of legislation?
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we amend this. And I think everybody received a red letter edition from the solicitor's office, and then the clerk sent them out to each one of you. If you go to page 67 in your large packet that we've been carrying with us, the amendment will be inserted in section 13. The red letter edition will be inserted, and then you have to change section 13 to 14, 14 to 15, and 15 to 16. Does everybody follow me?
What page again, please?
Page 67. Paul, should I read the insert one time?
Yes.
All right, what we're inserting in section 13 is vacant employee positions within the Village of Lordstown Police Dispatcher Department must be advertised in a newspaper of general circulation within Trumbull County, Ohio, with publication of sufficient information to attract and encourage the most qualified candidates to apply, after which the police chief shall narrow the list of applicants to the 3 most qualified candidates, conduct interviews, and then recommend to the mayor the most qualified candidate to be employed by the village, however subject to ratification by village council. All new village employees shall serve a 6-month probationary period. The failure to adhere to this protocol shall render the employment of a new village employee null and void. This provision of the amended and restated ordinance shall be effective on the date that it is passed by village council.
Everybody got that? That's a motion to amend by Mansell. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Radke. Comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Mansell?
Yes.
Mr. Reader?
Yes.
Mr. Bond?
Yes.
Mr. Radke?
Yes.
Mr. Shealy?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
6 ayes, 0 nays, motion carried to amend. Is there anything else? This cannot be passed this evening. It will go back to second reading if there's nothing else. Hearing none, I declare this ordinance has had its second reading. Next, please.
From negotiating committee for passage, an ordinance amending and restating ordinance number 104, 2013, establishing the authorized strength, the hourly wages, terms of remuneration, and rules governing the operation of the Village of Lordstown Auxiliary Police Department, effective January 1st, 2015, and declaring an emergency.
Comments or motions on this piece of legislation? Mr. Mansell.
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to amend this piece of legislation, and if everyone would turn to page 69 in their thick packet. The same wording, except it will have the fact that it's auxiliary police instead of dispatch. Things would be inserted in Section 2, and then you'll change Section 2 to Section 3, and everything else stays the same.
Okay, everybody understand the motion to amend by Mr. Mansell? If so, is there a second to amend?
Second.
Second by Jones. Comments? Roll call to amend.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Radka?
Yes.
Mr. Shaley?
Yes.
Mr. Rader?
Yes.
Mr. Vaughn?
Yes.
Mr. Mansell?
Yes.
6 ayes, 0 nays, motion carried to amend. Are there any other comments or motions on this piece of legislation? Hearing none, I declare it reverted back to second reading. Next, please.
The negotiating committee for passage, an ordinance amending and restating ordinance number 102, 2013, establishing the authorized strength, hourly wages, and other terms of remuneration for the police dispatcher department within the village of Lordstown, effective January 1st, 2015, and declaring an emergency.
Comments or motions on this piece of legislation?
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we amend this piece of legislation. And if everyone turns to page 81 in the big packet, the same wording will be inserted again in Section 16. And then Section 16 will be 17, 17 will be 18, and 18 will be 19. The only difference in this wording is this one's referring to the police dispatch.
Everybody heard the motion to amend by Mr. Mansell. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Vaughn. Comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Rader?
Yes.
Mr. Mansell?
Yes.
Mr. Vaughn?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Radka?
Yes.
Mr. Shaley?
Yes.
6 ayes, 0 nays, motion carried to amend. Are there any other comments or motions on this piece of legislation? Hearing none, I declare this ordinance was reverted back to second reading. Next, please.
From negotiating committee for passage, an ordinance amending and restating ordinance number 2, 2014, establishing the authorized strengths, the salaries, and other terms of remuneration for the full-time administrative employees for the police department in Lordstown, effective January 1st, 2015, and declaring an emergency.
Are there any comments or motions on this piece of legislation?
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt by Mr. Mansell. Is there a second? Second, Shealy. Comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Shaley?
Yes.
Mr. Radka?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Rader?
Yes.
Mr. Mansell?
Yes.
Mr. Vaughn?
Yes.
6 ayes, 0 nays, motion carried to adopt ordinance 88, 2014. Next, please.
From negotiating committee for passage, an ordinance amending and restating ordinance number 96, 2013, establishing the authorized strengths, the salaries, and other terms of remuneration for the part-time administrative employees of the fire department and the recreation department of the village of Lordstown, effective January 1st, 2015, and declaring an emergency.
Comments or motions on this piece of legislation?
Move to adopt.
Motion to adopt by Jones, second.
Second.
Second by Shealy. Comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Mansell?
Yes.
Mr. Rader?
Yes.
Mr. Vaughn?
Yes.
Mr. Radka?
Yes.
Mr. Shaley?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
6 ayes, 0 nays, motion carried to adopt ordinance 89, 2014. Next, please.
From council as a whole for passage, an ordinance amending and restating ordinance number 90, 2013, the master benefits ordinance, establishing the employment provisions and fringe benefits for all employees of the village of Lordstown, except for the hourly employees in the police and fire departments, and declaring an emergency.
Comments or motions on this piece of legislation? Mr. Mansell.
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to amend this piece of legislation. And if you would turn to page 127 in your large packet, the very first page of that ordinance, under Section 2, it has employment opportunities. If you read down through there, it'll say in the second sentence, after which the mayor, all right, there you would insert the red letter addition or such other appropriate department supervisor. After the word mayor, you would insert the red letter addition that we've got. Then if you read on down, it'll start a sentence, all new village employees. We're inserting the word village in there instead of just the word employees. Let's see, that would be Has everybody found the spot I'm talking about? All right, that's the only changes on this one.
Everybody heard the motion by Mr. Mansell to amend. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Radka. Comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Bond?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Mansell?
Yes.
Mr. Radcliffe?
Yes.
Mr. Shealy?
Yes.
Mr. Reader?
Yes.
6 ayes, 0 nays, motion carried to amend. Are there any other comments or motions on this piece of legislation? Hearing none, I declare it a second reading. Next, please.
From Transportation, Senior Services, Planning and Zoning, and Recreation Committee for second reading. An ordinance authorizing the mayor and clerk to enter into an agreement with the Trumbull County Board of Commissioners on behalf of the Trumbull County Nutrition Program for the elderly to provide meeting room space in the Village Administration Building, 1455 Salt Springs Road, Lordstown, Ohio, for the service of meals to senior citizens commencing January 1st, 2015 and ending December 31st, 2015, and declaring an emergency.
Are there any comments on this piece of legislation? Hearing none, I declare it's had its second reading. Next, please.
From Transportation, Senior Services, Planning and Zoning, and Recreation Committee for second reading. An ordinance amending in part and restating ordinance number 78, 2013, creating various seasonal part-time employment positions for the winter-spring 2015 recreation program and setting wages for the same.
Are there any comments on this piece of legislation? Hearing none, I declare it's had its second reading. Next, please.
From Street, Sidewalk, Public Parks, Buildings, Grounds, and General Improvements Committee for emergency passage. An ordinance authorizing the Village of Lordstown to contract with Shelley and Sands, Inc., 720 Home Avenue, Akron, Ohio, 44310 for the 2014 Lordstown Street resurfacing project and declaring an emergency.
Comments or motions on this piece of legislation?
Motion to suspend rules.
Motion by Reader, suspend the rules. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jones. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Bond?
Yes.
Mr. Radka?
Yes.
Mr. Mansell?
Yes.
Mr. Shealy?
Yes.
Mr. Reader?
Yes.
6 ayes, 0 nays, motion carried to suspend the rules. Is there a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Radka, second by Vaughn. Comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Shealy?
Yes.
Mr. Reader?
Yes.
Mr. Mansell?
Yes.
Mr. Radka?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Bond?
Yes.
6 ayes, 0 nays, motion carried to adopt ordinance 90, 2014. Next, please.
From Finance Committee for emergency passage. An ordinance authorizing the clerk to make all necessary revisions to the revenue and appropriation budgets pursuant to the minute certificate dated October 31st, 2014, and declaring an emergency.
Comments or motions on this piece of legislation?
Motion to suspend the rules.
Motion by Mansell, suspend the rules. Second?
Second.
Second by Radka. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Radka?
Yes.
Mr. Shealy?
Yes.
Mr. Bond?
Yes.
Mr. Mansell?
Yes.
Mr. Reader?
Yes.
6 ayes, 0 nays, motion carried to suspend the rules. Is there a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Moved by Jones, second.
Second.
Second, Shealy. Comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Mansell?
Yes.
Mr. Reader?
Yes.
Mr. Bond?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Radka?
Yes.
Mr. Shealy?
Yes.
6 ayes, 0 nays, motion carried to adopt ordinance 91, 2014. Next, please.
From Utilities Committee for emergency passage. An ordinance authorizing the purchase of one Godwin Drive Prime CD 130M diesel pump from Xylon, 300 Temple Street, Paynesville, Ohio, 44077, and declaring an emergency.
Comments or motions on this piece of legislation?
Motion to suspend the rules.
Motion by Shealy, suspend the rules. Second?
Second.
Second by Mansell. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bond?
Yes.
Mr. Mansell?
Yes.
Mr. Reader?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Radka?
Yes.
Mr. Shealy?
Yes.
6 ayes, 0 nays, motion carried to suspend the rules. Is there a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Moved by Radka, second by Shealy. Comments?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. The reason this was asked for as an emergency is we don't know when one of these pump stations might go down. We would need this pump. And also the fact that they're running out of these engines, and the new ones are going to be more expensive, requiring more emission controls. So we'd like to make sure that goes emergency and pass tonight.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Shealy?
Yes.
Mr. Radka?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Bond?
Yes.
Mr. Reader?
Yes.
Mr. Mansell?
Yes.
6 ayes, 0 nays, motion carried to adopt ordinance 92, 2014. Next, please.
from Finance Committee for emergency passage. An ordinance authorizing the clerk to make the following transfer within the utility fund and declaring an emergency.
Comments or motions on this piece of legislation?
Move to suspend.
Motion to suspend the rules by Jones, second. Second by Shealy. Roll call, please.
Mr. Vaughn.
Yes.
Mrs. Jones.
Yes.
Mr. Mansell.
Yes.
Mr. Radka.
Yes.
Mr. Reader.
Yes.
Mr. Shealy.
Yes.
6 ayes, 0 nays, motion carried to suspend the rules. Is there a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Moved by Radka, second.
Second.
Second by Mansell. Comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Reader.
Yes.
Mr. Mansell.
Yes.
Mr. Vaughn.
Yes.
Mr. Shealy.
Yes.
Mr. Radka.
Yes.
Mrs. Jones.
Yes.
6 ayes, 0 nays, motion carried to adopt ordinance 93, 2014. Is there any old business council would like to discuss at this time? Hearing none new business, I'd like to entertain a motion to have Keena Gallison removed from the position of part-time dispatcher. She's unable to give the time needed because she's working toward her Bachelor of Science in Occupational Health and Safety. Been here over 3 years and has returned all the property to the police department. I'll entertain a motion to accept her resignation.
So moved.
Moved by Radka, second.
Second.
Second by Shealy. Comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Is there any other new business at this time? Mr. Reader.
New business, yes. Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. I'd like to make a motion that we authorize the road superintendent to spend up to $350 for refreshments for the lighting ceremony.
Okay, everybody heard the motion from Mr. Reader for...
You have the date for that, Dawn, to put in there?
I have the 28th,
The day is Friday after Thanksgiving.
right, the 28th.
Everybody heard the motion by Mr. Reader. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jones. Comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Is there any other new business at this time?
I'd just like to remind all council we're having a negotiating meeting Wednesday at 6, going over the drug policy, so I'd like to see everybody there if they can make it.
Okay, any other new business? Hearing none, are there any additional public remarks? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Jones, second by Radka. Comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Meeting adjourned. Thank everybody for coming this evening.